Hello and welcome to my review on Mesa Prime. Give me a little bit. If I seem out of it today, it's because I got all my workout. I'm pretty tired. So I'm going to keep this a little bit simple because I'm pretty exhausted. Mesa Prime is a gunsmith, the goddess of guns, and a beautiful one at that. I mean, like, look at those thighs. You can tell she's a powerful gun holder. She mains guns, as you can see by the loadout. Her two guns that came with her pack is the Jagara, ooh, and the Redeemer Prime. So before I end up heading over to those, let's get into Mesa Prime over here. So, of course, Mesa Prime, as I already said, is a gun frame. But you know how some gunners are, they're pretty fragile. And just like the rest of Warframe, she is no exception. With the base health of 300 and shield of 300, not to mention a base armor of 85, ooh, she drops down in seconds. And as much as you should really apply to health and shields or even armor, that's not really her strong suit because she has to focus more on her guns. Oh. This is mainly the set I would use. Put into duration, efficiency, and strength. And you're going to have to play between strength and duration a lot with a tad bit of efficiency. Because when it comes to her ability, two of her abilities rely on three of her abilities, my apologies, rely on duration. Well, at Peacemaker relies on duration and efficiency to not work out. But you also have to play strength to how well you're able to use all your abilities. So let's start on Ballistic Battery. As it mentions, when activated, power stores damage caused by a gun, and when triggered again, the damage is channeled through. To activate this ability, there will be a little counter on the lower right hand side of your screen where all your abilities are, and it'll start at 0. And basically doing any type of damage, guns, melee, your abilities, it racks up. Once it gets to 100, which is the maximum, you're able to cast it again, and you can tell the difference between it by not only looking at the numbers but looking at your arm. When she's loading up, a blue little glimmer or orange will kind of shine on her hands, showing she's in her loading stage. But once you activate it again, it'll be like two little spirals going around her arm. So within the next shot, it'll be powered up, and it will help you out in pinches or really get through them Grenier with them high armors, you know. Next is Shooting Gallery. Gives allies basically just an extra damage buff while jamming guns by nearby enemies. And this is a duration based ability, but it's also pretty complicated. You want to put a lot of duration into this because this can help out your allies along with you. It gives you the damage buff as well, but it's set out to different durations depending on how many people are in your team. On your counter, it will show the full duration, giving you that. But depending on how many allies, like for say if you only got one ally, all the duration just the same as you. If you got 2 allies, it will split off half between the 2 of them. And 3 allies, which you only get a max of 4, including yourself, it will split off into thirds between them. Next up is Shatter Shield. Basically, envelop in a barrier and deflect bullets. And this also runs off strength and duration as well, which is why you want some good duration, which is mine is at 279. You don't have to really worry about range on Mesa because Shatter Shield will still work, and the radius of shooting galleries still work no matter how far they get, which I'll bring you and show you guys in a second. So basically, she'll have this little aspiring energy around her, and any bullets that hit you will immediately get shot back right at them. And which is great because it recovers for her, how I say, weakness upon her armor, shield, and health. And this is one of her only defense that you can heavily rely on, which is great. So of course you'd put in duration. Last but not least, her fourth ability, Peacemaker. She pulled out her exalted weapons called the Regulators, and for the duration of your entire energy bar, sometimes you can put on low prime flow because it's hard to pull those down while trying to manage all your stats. Which is why my energy is at 531, but it still drains fast for almost 4 energies per second. But she'll pull out her guns, and she'll stay in a suited position where she has the entire range of her screen, and it'll show a giant circle reticle, and enemies within that reticle you'll be able to fire at. So it's basically an auto fire, auto aim type ability. It's great and broken, but it's hard to use since it drains so fast. But it's also countered by how much damage you outpour. Exalted weapons on frames are affected by the builds you can put on them, and then the power strength which amplifies those builds. So upon that, she has a base range view, well it's range, but ability range doesn't affect it, so you're also good, of 15 degrees. And Hydron, it shoots pretty far as you can see, but as you keep shooting, your reticle gets smaller, and it will be hard to shoot all the enemies because your reticle will continue to get small until you only can capture 1 or 2 enemies at a time. But as your reticle gets smaller, your damage increases, which is the damage multiplier. So you're able to take out higher tank enemies the smaller your circle gets, and you can continue to reset the reticle every time you turn off and turn on your ability. I slapped on Arcane Guardian and Arcane Awakening to help her with her armor problem and a boost damage to her pistol. Also, side note, you basically have infinite ammos on your regulators, so you can continue shooting until you run out. I also have pistol amp on mine, so it's basically a modifier for each damage mod on your pistols. And this isn't my complete set, because as you see, some mods aren't maxed out. But this is how I have it set up. Best is if you set it up by crit chance and crit multiplier, which is critical damage and critical chance, since it plays with the regular multiplier upon her ability. You can main it. I mained it in Impact and Toxin. Impact staggers the enemy while taking down some of their armor, so helps hold them back, and you put Toxin on it so you can whittle away their health along with the regular bullets. Now, on to her next. Oh, before I do, I have to talk about her passive. Her passive's not that great, but it's also pretty good. It's more of a goes along with what type of frame she's going to be. So depending on what sidearms you have, on dual wheel sidearms, which is basically 2 pistols, it reloads faster and reloads single pistol more rapidly. She also gains 50 bonus health for not using melee weapon. And as a gun frame, she mostly mains on range, so you wouldn't use your melee a lot, especially since you're going to consider needing that health when you run out of energy. Oh, she's stylish. Look at those boots. On to her weapons. Her first weapon pack is the Jagara. Mine doesn't look so great, so I won't get too much into it. But it's a nice status weapon. As you can see, you can tell the type of gun you should build it by either status or the chance. Sometimes people would build critical chance to put a little status on it, or they build status and put some multiplier on it for that heavier damage. But what you never do is take one gun, like per se this is status, you should never build it into critical chance. You can, but you can't fully do it, because then that mistakes what the gun should be about. It's also built upon slash. Slash procs bleeding, which is basically like toxin, but this is the 3 innate status effects, so that helps also with whittling down her health, or enemy's health. And the guns burst, but it's technically semi-auto. You can just pull on your trigger and you can continue to fire it. And since it's dual wielding, it'll be shooting a lot faster than it really do, especially on Mesa. So lightly pull on your trigger really fast, it'll kind of tire your finger out, but also make it shoot pretty much faster since you're spamming rapidly the button. You can go into options and you can change the sensitivity on your controller to help you shoot faster if you wanted to, or shoot slower. I have mine all the way up when I use Mesa, and I don't use her a lot because I'm more of a melee main. So this review by itself is not really going to be that great, considering that I don't use her a lot. I can easily just tap my controller and shoot out lots of bullets really fast, though I don't really have a lot of damage to compensate for it, so that's why. The Redeemer Prime, ooh, this weapon is a hard review, because at first I don't like how it looks. It looks pretty trash. It's like someone just broke a shotgun, turned it in half, and just put 2 blades on the side of it. The blades look sick, I just don't like the dual shotgun thing. But as I explained it, this is basically, this is a melee weapon, but it's basically 2 blades with a shotgun on it, so it still has its shooting power too. I just finished maxing this out, so I don't have really anything about it. But I also have no mods for it. I used to, but I blindly sold it. Now it's my B. But its innate stance is High Noon, which is a rare stance mod, which you can get from Broodmothers by 3%, and one of the Corpus enemies by a nice 6%. I'll have to go farm them later. So how this gun performs is, you would want to put Amalgam Organ Shatter, because it increases your charged attack speed. This gun is a melee combo, but at the end of the melee combo, it shoots your enemy for not that much damage, but it's add-on damage. And its charge attack is also shooting. So here we are. I don't have enemies here, so I'll go on a test later, but I want to show you how the weapon works. So your melee button is obviously your circle button for those of you who are new to Warframe, and you use a combo by just pressing circle. But what's special about this gun, which is a type of gun blade, as you can obviously see, it does swift fast strike and does a shot at the end. And when you do a charge shot, when you hold down the circle on gun blades, it just shoot. So you don't have to go into the melee point of this. You can actually just shoot it normally, and this is where the Amalgam Organ Shatter comes in. It charges up your charge a lot faster, so you can shoot it a lot faster. So After you hold down circle, you immediately hold it down again, and you can continue to shoot. Though, this gun is barely used because it's not that great, and you wouldn't be using it much on Mesa anyways, because you want to keep that bonus health. But, it's great to have if the enemies are pressuring you too much, because she's not great when it comes to melee. When it comes to guns, she can easily deflect those. When it comes to melee enemies, which like Infested and some Greenier and Corpus, they'll try to pressure her and get up on her. If you don't kill them quick enough and get upon you, you can use this little melee to kill them off. Pistol Lamp is not affected by this. Last bit of facts. Mesa is one of the top DPS frames, as I clearly showed her first, second, and fourth ability. Her third ability is just a cover-up for what she's weak to, and that makes her really great. She's more suited towards defense and survival missions, but as a casual, you can pretty much take her out wherever you want to. First through third abilities. But you can use them before your fourth and they'll still activate, which should really help her out, especially if you don't have the Mesa Waltz ability. Or even if you do, you still want it. So you can put on Shooting Gallery, Shatter Shield, and when you go in her fourth ability, she can completely decimate enemies while still protecting herself and buffing her allies. And you got that Ballistic Battery, which you can charge on and off and do even more damage with your pistols. But that applies to all guns that she has too. So now I'm gonna go into a game. It's gonna be pretty quick, but I'll just give you the general idea of how she works, how she runs. Alright then, let's get this started. Power drift. Mental walls. Roll time.